Throughout this semester, if you have watched these videos regularly, you've seen the same format, pretty much, right? I mean, you get a pithy greeting, followed by a gift that I find funny, which may or may not be appropriate for what I'm saying, due to the fact that my brain is kind of wired differently than most. Once you see that and I say something about it, well, then I move to Brightspace and continue through the introduction until we get down here to the 102 masterclass schedule, on the right-hand side about halfway down. But wait, there's something different, isn't there? Hi, it's me. I decided to rip the curtain back and talk to you directly simply because it's the last chance I'm going to get to do that. And honestly, this is the week that you have to make a very big decision. Are you going to present simply a voiceover of your presentation, or are you going to allow the world to see your face? And if that's the case, are you going to put it in the upper right-hand corner, the lower left? No, it doesn't matter. As long as you're there, that's all that matters to me. We have a lot of things to look at today, but really they're not nearly as helpful as this. Remember that your presentation has to be in by no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday, April 28th, 2024. There is no Monday after that. I mean, there is in the world, but there is not going to be for this class. The semester ends on that day. Matter of fact, the semester ends at that second, truthfully. So if you are late, it will not accept your presentation and you will get a 0. Not a fun thing, right? Don't blame me. This decision was made far above my pay grade by people that make a lot more money than I do and actually have meetings all day long, which I'm glad I'm not in. And they probably have walls in their offices that don't allow them to hear their neighbors yawning excruciatingly loudly, constantly during the day. It would be nice to have an office like that, but I don't want the meetings that go along with it. So in any case, the semester will end at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sunday, April 28th, 2024. So please make sure to get your presentation in by then. So this presentation again, are you going to show yourself or are you not? Are you just going to give a voiceover? Hopefully you get to show yourself because honestly, as an online student, I have no idea what any of you look like. You could trip over me in the hallway and I would just say, oops, sorry, and keep walking. So please, show us a little bit of who you are, okay? Make sure that the material matches your personality. So now we're back to normal. We've got our 11-week schedule, but before we get into what we're talking about in week 11, I promised to show you the sample presentation that I attached into the announcement last week as well as this week, and we're going to run through it, okay? Remember that your presentation must be 5 to 8 minutes long. Anything under 5 or over 8 will lose you points. Please make sure that it features visuals of some sort, most likely PowerPoint or Google Slides or Canva or Prezi or other equivalent software. It must hit on the 5 bulleted points brought up in the requirements that were here under argumentative research speech, as well as in here, which we will show at the end of the video, Unit 4 Oral Multimedia Presentation. Please make sure you do that. They'll illustrate the scope of the research that you did for your paper. So, now that we've discussed that, let's go through the promised PowerPoint. I'm going to go through this twice for a reason. The first time, I'm just going to show you what it looks like in the presentation. The second time, I want to put the hood up and kind of show you the engine, okay? So I promise the first spin through will not be there very long, and the second one might be a little bit longer, but we're still talking about the specifics there. So the design I picked kind of looks like a circuit board to me, and because I'm talking about international cyber police forces. I picked a random student name, Kevin Mitnick. It's not actually a student of mine. However, if you know anything about computers and computer terrorism and cyber terrorism and hacking, the name sounds very familiar. And then after that, we have the department you wrote it for, the school you wrote it for, the class, even though this is a typo, it should say Composition 2, and then my name. The reason why I didn't put my name up here and down here is I didn't want to confuse you. So this is our title slide. This is where you introduce yourself to your audience. After that, we get into, as you can see, everything else. We're keeping the idea of the circuit board, but now we've got a picture over here. We've got some text that rolls up as soon as you are ready to talk about it. Using animations is a great way to do things, transitions as well, but just don't let them take the focus from what you are saying. Here we have just a plain old normal page with some text and a single picture. Otherwise, it's just going to be a plain, boring slide with nothing else on there. So make sure that you actually entertain as well as inform. Then we have our What Did I Want to Discover slide. And notice that this text is really small. That's a problem. I did this to show you that, you know what, even though we're very close to our screens, we have to get really close to read this. So don't be afraid to bulk up the text, okay? Because on this page, you can see the text is a lot easier to read. We have our image, we have our, big text, and we're good to go. Then we get into our recap of the argument itself. Whether you want to do your claims, each one on a separate slide, or all three on one slide, or two slides, or whatever it is, that's fine, but make sure that any material that you are using, like statistics and data, you are going to cite it. So right here, and right here, and right here, we have citations. They look just like in-text citations from your paper, because they are, okay? Then we have our second part of the research argument. Wait a minute. Oh, it didn't spin this time for some reason. This guy usually spins open. I don't know what happened because it spun the last time. Here we have another in-text citation, and we have the image to break up the block of text. We have our counter-argument with our in-text citations. And we go into our rebuttal, which is going to be a couple of different points, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4 slides. And those 4 slides encompass pretty much our entire paper, okay? After that, we're going to talk about the interesting results of my research. And when we have that, there we go. I wanted you to show me kind of what you got out of this. Did you find anything exciting or upsetting? Did you find anything that you thought you knew but you didn't, or didn't think you really realized but you really found out later? All of that works. By the way, this movie, one of my absolute favorites from the 90s. It's a terrible movie. It is really dated. The soundtrack's amazing. And yes, that is a young Angelina Jolie right there with her very first husband, Johnny Lee Miller. Okay? Anyway, after that, we have our overall slide, which is our summary. And we just kind of illustrate what's going on with the presentation to make sure that your audience followed and paid attention. Followed by our any questions slide and our references, okay? Once you're done this, we are done. So this is what it looks like in terms of the back end, okay? So there we go. I'm going to move that up just a little bit. If you don't see the slides notes at the bottom of the page for yours when you download it, what I'd like you to do is click on View, and then make sure that the Notes button is indeed activated. As you can see, me clicking it opens it and closes it, okay? So make sure that that is still there. Move that back down. Perfect. Okay. Now, as you can see, the title slide, it tells us exactly where you're going to introduce yourself, where you're going to introduce who you are to the audience, okay? Then we get into establishing our topic, okay? Kind of telling people what the general idea is of your presentation so they kind of understand where we're starting from. Then we get into why it was so important. Why did you really feel the need to do this? What's your ethos? What's your credibility? Why did you choose this? Some of you chose topics, because they sounded interesting. Some of you chose it because it matches with what you hope to do in life, or maybe even what you're doing in your classes. And that's great. You can do that. No problems. But here's where you explain it to everybody. Then we get into, showing us kind of where you're coming from and what your major is and why things are the way they are. And all the slide notes down here will kind of help guide you as you're building it for yourself. Then we get into your 3 research questions. If you go back, I forget what week it was, but the first week of Unit 3, you did a Unit 3 building research questions graphical organizer. You just take those 3 research questions, knock them back right here, and then just put something here to explain why they're important. You do that, and this slide's done, taken care of. Then we get our thesis slide, and this one's going to establish the thesis before discussing the highlights of the paper. Tell us what the argument is that you plan on using, okay? And then your next 4 slides, 3 slides, 5 slides are going to be what the paper was all about. Here's my first 3 argument claims, and here's my last argument claim. Here are my 2 counter-argument points, and here are my 2 rebuttal points. And as you can see, every time I have something in here, boom, 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 a boom, boom, and that's it. No more booms. We have an in-text citation, okay? So anytime you're using outside source material, you must cite it just like you would in your paper. Once you get through that, we talk about the interesting results. Again, make sure that you explain to your reader that this wasn't just a paper that you wrote. You actually got something out of it as well. That always kind of connects to your audience. Finally, a short summary, because most of the time, your audience may not be paying very close attention to it. So kind of hit them over the head at the end again with what they need to know. Finalized by the any questions slide. Some of you may want to add your email address. If that's something that you think that people would email you questions for, I have never once heard somebody saying, oh yeah, I'm going to email so-and-so about this. It's never really happened. But hey, you never know, okay? And then finally, any references that you use within your paper, please make sure to put on your references slides. You might have 15 references in your paper. However, you only use 4 of them in your actual presentation. Then your references slide or slides will only be 4 references long. Don't overdo it by copying and pasting everything, okay? Once you get through that, you are done with what it is. Congratulations. So, did all that make sense? If not, go back and review it. If it still doesn't make sense, email me as soon as possible so I can help. Now, here are the documents where you have to review, okay? Here are the ones from last week, which are not bad to look at again. And here are the ones from this week, which they want you to look at, truthfully. They're not really all that helpful across the board, though. I mean, you can review conclusions matter, and it's fine. However, we already talked about this for your research paper, and there's really nothing different here. So you can actually conclude if you'd like with this, or you can just kind of remember what you did for your paper because it's the same basic principle. You go back here, developing presentation skills, and off we go. You know what the best way to develop presentation skills is? Do more presentations. I hate to be honest about that, but hey. This page is sort of worthless to me because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos and just a little bit of text. So they basically want you to watch other people giving presentations in order to give a presentation. Not really helpful to me. You probably get more out of watching my videos each week to see how I try to engage you. I'm not saying I'm amazing or anything, but you can see the delivery, the visuals, the overall preparation. It's all the same thing. Now, going back, we have these things called, there we go. Effective visual aids, which is this one here. There we go. And there are really helpful links here to show you how to set up a PowerPoint. They're going to be under the heading of PowerPoint presentation skills. Yeah, it's a bit obvious and on the nose, huh? Now, I do my video through Screencast-O-Matic, and I bought the yearly subscription, which means no watermark, and I can use long videos. You don't need to do that. You just need a 5 to 8 minute video, which will be perfect. You can also use PowerPoint's onboard recording technology, so you may not even need Screencast-O-Matic. If it makes you feel better. Look for these tutorials to help you. No problems. They're all right here for those of you who feel that you are lacking in technological savvy. Okay, and last but not least, using technology to present information. You're actually going to find this to be the most helpful page of the entire semester. It shows you what to do with the Microsoft suite of programs, right here, as well as the Google suite, right here. It provides links to the image depositories, and it also lists out some interesting screencasting pages. So you can use PowerPoint here, Google Slides here. You know, we've got images and sound here. You've got screencasting down here. It's all wonderful. For, again, those people who consider themselves technologically lacking, this is the page to pay attention to. Okay? And now, my friends, we have one final thing to review. We have to review the final project of the semester. Remember, this is due by Sunday, April 28th, 2024, by 11:59 p.m. Eastern. There is no next day submission because there is no next day. Again, don't go all like biblical or anything. There is a next day. It's just the submissions will be closed and you can't get anything and you'll be a zero and it'll be game over, man. Game over. So here's the final submission. If you don't want to go back through all the previous documents, the 5 main bullet points that you have to hit are right here under structure and content. Make sure that you hit each one of them. If you go back to my sample, you'll see that each one of these are in there, maybe in not the same order, but they're all in there, okay? It's got some guidelines down here that you can use. The format is right here, 5 to 8 minutes. I'm going to tell you it's probably going to be a minimum of 10 slides. And honestly, I'd go back up here under Process and Resources and look at the rubric to make sure you know how you're being graded, okay? Get yourself an idea of how you'll be graded, and maybe you'll do even better. It's a smart plan. And that's it. It's a long semester, and you've made it to the end. For probably all of you, this is the last English class you'll have to take. For a few of you who are looking at English 122 or English 124, well, I don't teach them. So aren't you just lucky? Thanks again for all the time you spent this semester trying your best. Those of you who put a lot of effort into your submissions, well, it made my life easier. Better papers are easier to grade, after all. Have a great summer. Good luck in your future courses. And I can't wait to see each and every one of you cross the stage at graduation. See ya.